Grapevine fans, it's me, Patty Lee. How you doing? All right, I have done the work, but I haven't done the taping of all of the bad moms and one bad dad verdict updates for you guys. So I'm gonna do that right now, and I'll just say, can we have justice? Yes, we can. May was the month of justice. So, spoiler alert, guilty, guilty, guilty on Stauch, Vallow, and the West trials. And let's get into it. Number one, Leticia Stauch. Guilty, May 8th. This trial was not as nail-biting as the other two. It was pretty clear that Leticia is maybe crazy, but not legally. So she was sentenced to 2 life sentences. It's really interesting watching all these trials in succession in different states and how things go. So Leticia was sentenced right then. This was Colorado. Some states, like the ones we're going to talk about, wait longer. And so it's kind of an interesting difference. There's her lovely mugshot. Bye, Leticia. So the biggest takeaways from, if you watched her trial, which I just couldn't watch a lot of it because it was disgusting and messy. She was messy. Everything about it was messy. Oh my gosh. Her search history just basically documented her crime. It was a confession. I mean, she just documented how to, like, it's almost as bad as what Brian Walsh, his Google history. Do not Google your crimes. The amount of time she changed her story. That was the other crazy thing. And the craziness of her lies. There were recorded phone calls that they played. It was painful to listen to. Al, who was the father of Gannon, he was working with the police and trying to get her to say more. But it was literally painful to watch. And her interviews, she's told such bad lies, and it was horrible and disgusting that she was ever left alone with those kids. Speaking of disgusting, the way she acted in court, if you watched, she was checked out, and then she was swinging in her chair, and she'd throw her hair over her face and ignore everybody, but then some witnesses, she was doing that, that tricky junior high thing where you're like, oh, huh? I mean, okay, child. It got to the point where the judge said to her, like, we can put your, like, handcuffs on a ring underneath the table and you will be stuck, like, right there, so you can't mess around. You can't be moving crazy, and you can't be flipping people off. I mean, she was basically being put, like, in a timeout. The psychologist, that was the other thing. Oh my gosh. So the psychologist who was, like, the hired gun for her side, they tried to say she had dissociative order, and that she had, basically that's the new DSM for that psychologists have changed their social construction of how they define the phenomenon of somebody who has multiple personalities. They're not going to call it multiple personalities, they're going to call it dissociative disorder. But of course, Leticia said it's not funny, because when people have a real dissociative disorder, it's out of horrific circumstances. Basically, their mind splits to protect themselves from very serious trauma as a child. Leticia said Maria was her one personality who like basically committed the crime with Gannon, And she only spoke Spanish. No habla inglés. But she couldn't even say anything in Spanish. But she's like, well, because Maria knows it. I don't know it. So she can't, I don't know. It was ridiculous. And of course, and it was also racist. It was like, just Leticia, I can't with her. It was crazy. Yeah, so that protector personality, that was the one in charge of the killing, but she couldn't talk, so we'll never know, right? And then her other personalities had these like pretty princess names. It wasn't. It was like she just made up stuff. It was ridiculous. She's basically an unintelligent sociopath. But she thinks she's really smart, that she can just study a disorder and fake it. And the answer is nope, she could not. So, you can watch parts. I mean, I think Leticia Stauch's trial was the one that everybody followed because they could. Like it was Lori Vallow's trial was going on at the time, and the West's, and both of those were either just audio. They were both had very strict media restrictions, so it was difficult for just all the streamers to follow them. But if you really want to know about the Gannon Stauch case, this is Linda of It's a Crime. She followed it from day one. I mean, and she loved Gannon. She really was an advocate for him and finding him and looking for him when he was still missing. And then afterwards, she really did deep dives. Go check out her playlist on Leticia Stauch. If you're interested in somebody who was doing trial day-by-day updates, you don't want to watch like the whole thing, but you want a very detailed update, Gisela K, host of Grizzly True Crime, she's your girl. She does like hour stream, couple hour streams all the time about cases, but she does very detailed work. Highly recommend her. Yeah, so that's Leticia, and let's say bye, Leticia. Let's hope we don't hear from her ever again.